America must always reject racial bigotry, anti-Semitism, and hatred in all forms. As we pray for Charlottesville, we are reminded of the fundamental truth recorded by the city's most prominent citizen in the Declaration of Independence. We are all created equal and endowed by our creators with unalienable rights. We know these truths to be everlasting because we have seen the decency and greatness of our country. Those are the words of former President George H.W. and George W. Bush, released just days ago, as we talk about Charlottesville, Virginia, and what took place last weekend. America, we as a nation are at a tipping point, and our president is leading us down a slippery slope to hell. This is your boy Richard Fowler, and it's time for the Richard Fowler pre-show. Wow, what a week it has been. So let's rewind. This all started last week Friday in Charlottesville, Virginia, when 400 to 500 white men in khakis and collared shirts, some call them the alt-right, some call them white supremacists, some call them the KKK, I just call them racist, took to the streets with tiki torches purchased from Home Depot, Lowe's, or whatever home improvement store they purchased it from, took to the streets of Charlottesville yelling blood and soil, the Jews will not overtake us, and various other racial epithets. They surrounded a Baptist church. They scared church parishioners, and they caused an entire city to buckle to its knees. And then that takes us to Saturday, which on Saturday, this same group of 400 to 500 white men went back to this park where they claimed to have had where they did indeed have a legal permit to protest the taking down of a Civil War statue. They were met with peaceful counter-protesters who said, hey, listen, not in our town, not in our city, not in our state will we allow these neo-Nazis, white supremacists, KKKers, alt-righters to engage in such hateful behavior. And then, America, it led to a slippery slope of violence and led to the killing of one young girl who her classmates said was a lovely young woman who wanted nothing more than love and went to protest because she saw these individuals as nothing more than hate. Later in the afternoon, around 3:30, President Trump took to the podium in Bedminster, New Jersey, where he stated that there were violence on all sides. On all sides, there were violence. Now, he did, truth be told, he did condemn hate and bigotry, but said there were violence on all sides, which got America into a frenzy. And we were all scratching our heads, trying to figure out how the president came to a conclusion that there were violence on all sides, when most Americans said, no, Mr. President, the violence was just on one side. The hatefulness was just on one side. The bigotry was just on one side. The racism was just on one side. So then the president went silent. On Monday, the president then traveled to the White House. And in the diplomatic room, he released a statement. He read a statement from a teleprompter, rejecting neo-Nazism, white supremacy, white nationalism, and the KKK. And then, on Tuesday, at a press conference or a press bill that's supposed to be a press announcement around transportation, the president walked back his statements from Monday and said, no, indeed, there were violence on both sides, and that the alt-left was part of the problem, and that, you know, while bigotry and racism does exist, we can't take away from the fact that there is the alt-left, and the alt-left spurred on these, you know, white nationalists and white supremacists, and that he would not reject the alt-right. And he went further to say that he had the largest winery in Charlottesville. I mean, some have called this press conference on Tuesday off the rails. Some called it the worst press conference in U.S. history. Some called it the worst press conference ever seen by a modern-day president. Some called it the most racist thing they've ever seen. whatever you want to call it, the truth of the matter is that press conference opened up a wound so large in American history that it had never been seen before. Republican colleagues, people who I call my friends, said they were ashamed they voted for Donald Trump. Other people said Republicans said Donald Trump has no clue how to deal with America's race relations. Here is the truth. The truth is, it is very clear that Donald Trump has some connection to white supremacy and the alt-right, and that cannot be mistaken.